Hey y'all, or should I say, what's up, Doc? Hello everybody, my name is Vaughn and welcome to Cooking the Comments. I love like a moist, dense cake. I love a cream cheese frosting. Enter carrot cake. So the recipe that I'm gonna cook through today is Dory Greenspan's carrot cake, which I've been doing a lot of research on carrot cakes on the internet, and I do think that it's kind of considered widely to be like the gold standard carrot cake. I'm going to cook through the recipe once through, just as Dory Greenspan wrote it. And then I'm gonna go through the comments, I'm gonna parse the section and just see like, what are they adding to it? What are they taking away? How are they amending it? And I'm going to develop and test my ultimate carrot cake. This is a carrot cake that, like I said, is kind of considered, I would say, to be like a gold standard carrot cake, but it does have some ingredients in it that I know people are a little bit like, take it or leave it with. It's got coconut, it's got raisins, it's got chopped walnuts or pecans. Pecans. We do this every single time. In the comment section, I think people kind of have their opinions about those things, but everything else is pretty standard. It is an oil-based cake, it's got some spice in it, and obviously it's got lots of shredded carrots. It is a 9-inch cake, and there are 3 rounds. So I've got, just my like kind of non-stick cake pans right here, but even though they're non-stick, I'm still gonna butter and flour them per the recipe because, just giving myself a little bit of extra insurance there. I'll see you later. Can't have a carrot cake without carrots. So I'm going to just shred some carrots here. I'm like a little bit lazy. And I think if I were making this at home, I wouldn't peel the carrots. Because I'm on international television right now, I feel like I need to. If you have a food processor, you can put the grate attachment in there, which has holes that are about this size. But if you want to be a hero, use a box grater. I'm gonna do like one of these and be like, can we get the swap in here? All right, I'm done. Everybody, say hi to Viv, my lifesaver. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to sift together my dry ingredients. So I've got my flour here, and then I've got my baking powder, baking soda, kosher salt, and some ground cinnamon. Kind of evenly disperse so that when we're ready to add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients, it'll just be really nice and evenly mixed. In addition to carrots, I've got coconut raisins, and these are walnuts. If you put really dry fruit in your cake batter, depending on how much you have in there, it could even like draw some of that moisture out of the cake itself. So I'm gonna just add some boiling water over that. So while those raisins kind of plump up, I'm gonna go ahead and measure out my carrots. Then I've got some coconut, and then I've got some chopped walnuts there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and drain my raisins. And even just letting them sit in there for a couple minutes, you can tell that they've already started to kind of plump up a little bit more. So I'm gonna just add those in there, just kind of making sure that everything is kind of well incorporated now at this stage. And then I'm going to get going with my wet ingredients. I have my sugar, a cup of neutral oil here. The nice thing about an oil-based cake is they tend to be, I think, a little bit more moist. Butter is solid at room temperature. Oil, canola, safflower, grapeseed, those are going to be liquid at room temperature. Don't know the total science behind it, but if something is liquid at room temperature, it's gonna create for a more moist thing overall. Oh no, love, makes sense to me. That's Adele. Adele and I baking together. Now that the oil and the sugar is starting to combine a little bit, I'm going to add my eggs one at a time and then mix well after each addition. When you're adding, especially 4 eggs to something, you want to make sure that you don't overwhelm the fat that's in here, because that's when you can kind of start to see some splitting. So now you see that this is like a really nice, smooth, homogeneous mixture in here. And that's why you add eggs one at a time. And now I'm gonna add the dry ingredients and mix just until they disappear. It's a good visual indicator. It's just mixing it until it just disappears. All right. When you're working in a stand mixer, you do want to make sure that you kind of go down into the bottom, because I can even see down there that I've got some of my like unincorporated wet ingredients with the dry ingredients. So I'm kind of just finishing the mixing by hand. Okay, just gonna mix these just again until they disappear. Perfect. Okay, so everything seems to be nice and evenly incorporated in here. So I'm going to add equal amounts in each of my 3 prepared pans there. Because this is like a less liquid cake batter, I'm gonna just kind of work it to the edges here just to make sure that it's in one nice and even layer. Now, these go into the oven. Like, you can't have carrot cake without cream cheese frosting. It really kind of like adds a necessary bit of tang. So if this is an 8-ounce block of cream cheese at room temp, start by combining this with a stick of butter. You really want to make sure that this is nice and well mixed, because you don't want to have any lumps in it at this stage. These are both about the same temperature, which will help with this. Scrape down the sides and then continue mixing it. I think you really do need this to be like smooth and creamy and start to look a little bit lighter in color before you continue with adding your confectioner sugar, because it again is like almost like you're emulsifying the 2 fats together. So I'm gonna continue beating it. Okay. Probably add maybe like a quarter at first just to get it started. Finish off here. So now I'm gonna add just a little bit of lemon juice. It's not zest, it's just the juice, and I think that that acidity kind of helps bring out that acidity from the cream cheese, and it really cuts the sweetness. I think we're done. I think once the cakes are ready, we're gonna frost this baby up, decorate her a little bit, and we'll be good to go. So I'm gonna let these cool in the pan for probably about 5 to 10 minutes, and then run a knife along the edge and then invert them onto my cooling racks. Take this, invert it, and pray. Perfect. There we go. Knock 3 times. So I've got my 3 layers here. So I'm gonna start by inverting my cake plate there, and it's pretty centered. Perfect. Pretty much just divide this frosting into 3. Just use the rest of this because we're not frosting the outside. Just looking at it and slicing it, you can tell that it's really moist. I'm gonna give it a taste. It's very good, it's sweet. Quite a sweet cake, which again, I don't hate. It's got a nice spice. I don't think that the spice is overwhelming. It just kind of like helps bring out that carrot-iness, which I like. Kind of wish the nuts on the inside were toasted. And I want the cream cheese to have a little bit more of a tang. All in all, this recipe is like fabulous. Like I said, I think it's like one of those gold standard recipes. It's a great frame of reference. I can't stop eating it, so obviously I like it. I would like to see what the commenters are saying about it. There are a lot of really great comments. Again, this recipe has almost 7,000 reviews and 5 stars, but that doesn't mean that people don't have opinions about it. Sumi says Made it as written the first time, cake was fluffy, but I really wanted a bit more of a denser cake. So added a 1/4 cup of pineapple, a 1/2 cup of diced candied ginger. That sounds really good. I'm seeing some different spices. People are adding some like nutmeg, allspice, it seems, different zests to the frosting, which I definitely think I want to try. I'm seeing a lot of pineapple additions, and I do think that that's something that's very kind of like classic, almost like church potluck type vibe carrot cake. Oh, reducing the baking soda a tad. That is one thing that I did kind of taste the chemical leavener a little bit in that cake, so that's something to just kind of keep in mind when I'm developing my own. Sonia says that she soaked the raisins in rum. A lot of people seem to be reducing the sugar to 1.5 cups instead of 2 cups. Brown sugar is an interesting addition. Elaine used brown sugar. I'm seeing some white chocolate frosting. I'm seeing people subbing different oils, like coconut oil could be interesting if you're kind of going for that coconutty vibe. Well, Rebecca changed a lot. Let's just run through. I didn't feel the need to make the cream cheese frosting. I made them into cupcakes. I substituted half the cinnamon for cardamom, lovely alteration. I also used butter instead of oil and used sweetened coconut, so I reduced the sugar to 1.25 cups, and then I added 1/2 cup of pineapple. She made like 7 different changes. Love to see that kind of gumption. I think I want to try adding pineapple. I want to try a version without coconut or raisins just to see like what those are giving me. I want to try a version with less sugar, and I want to try a version with brown sugar. I think I want to try a version with coconut oil. And then I'm going to try some different types of frosting. I think I'm going to try like a brown butter version of the cream cheese frosting, maybe adding some sour cream. I've seen white chocolate in the frosting, which is a big comment on here. And then adding some like different zests or flavorings to the frosting overall and making it maybe a little less sweet and more of it, because you can never have too much frosting, right? I think that in the interest of not having like so many 3-layer cakes on set, proceeding with my tests as half recipes for now is going to be fine. Even though it's half the recipe and it bakes up in 3, I still think I'm gonna just do it in 1 layer and just maybe bake it a little longer. I'll be able to tell when it's done. So the first version that I'm gonna do is gonna be like the easiest change, which is just removing the coconut and the raisins. Because that was a big comment that a lot of people said. Really what I'm interested in seeing is how this tastes without the coconut. Because, you know, the coconut is not only adding like texture, it's adding sweetness, it's adding a little coconutiness, but it could be adding like moisture in there. Yeah, I wanna see how it acts. I'm gonna mix up my dry ingredients in here and then mix just the chopped walnuts with the carrots. And I think that this is like at its core, the simplest carrot cake. So everything else in this recipe is the exact same. It's time for the montage yet? Cue the montage. I'm still going to bake this at 325 degrees, and I'm gonna check it at about 40-45 minutes. I anticipate it's gonna take a little bit longer, but I'm still gonna use those doneness cues that I used the first time. So the second version that I'm gonna do is the version with crushed pineapple. I'm gonna have to fact check this, but pineapple is actually really often used as like, can make things a lot more tender, like a meat tenderizer in some ways. My hypothesis is that it makes the cake not only have this kind of like extra moisture in it, but it also makes it a little bit more tender. People were commenting they were adding 1/2 cup of the crushed pineapple in its liquid. So I'm gonna just add a 1/4 cup here. All right, and then I'm gonna continue on with the rest of my recipe as written. Cue montage. Brown sugar in cakes could make it a little denser, could also make it a little bit more moist because brown sugar has a little bit more moisture in it. We'll see how it acts though. In baking, sugar is a wet ingredient, so depending on the ratio and depending on the quantity, it could change how things behave. So I definitely want to do a test with less sugar just to see how the bake reacts. Other than that, everything else is the same. Let's bounce. This is like a virgin unrefined coconut oil. It's got a lower smoke point, but a more coconutty flavor to it. You know, it might perfume it with a little bit more coconut flavor, we'll see. But that's the only other change that I made to this test. I'm gonna continue with the recipe as written with my dry ingredients, then mixing my oil with my sugar, adding the eggs, and then the chunkies. Done a lot today already, and that's just the cake. Just looking at these, I can definitely tell some differences, right? Like they all baked at pretty much the exact same time, which I wanted them to. Looking at the no mix-ins, it's looking a little blonde. It definitely is sloping in on the inside. The pineapple one is a little sloped on the inside, but it's definitely a lot darker, which is really interesting. I mean, it definitely has more sugar in there, so that's probably why. The coconut oil one, honestly, was really nice. I mean, it baked up the flattest out of all of them. The brown sugar one definitely took on a little bit more color than the rest of them, but I like it. I mean, it still feels like really springy and spongy. And then the less sugar one, I was expecting this one to really like be vastly different. It's not that much blonder than the no mix-ins one, and it actually looks like it's a little bit more evenly baked. Originally, I was thinking by the end of day one, I would maybe have the cake test, the frosting test, and do like a little bit of a mix and match. I think I'm just gonna, these are still warm. It's nearing the end of the day. I think we should just kind of like call it. How we feel about that? Good. Why don't we just come back in the morning and I'll whip up some frosting because that'll be really easy. And then we can do like a little breakfast taste test. Let's go home. We're back. I'm really interested to taste these and just see how they're playing with each other. But first, I think I'm going to set these aside and make some buttercream so that I can kind of set myself up with like a little cake tasting, you know? I think I'm gonna test a few different frostings this morning. I'm gonna do a brown butter cream cheese frosting. I'm going to do a cream cheese sour cream frosting. I saw a lot of comments about white chocolate, so I'm gonna do a white chocolate cream cheese frosting. And then I'm going to do just like a regular one with a little citrus zest in it. So I'm gonna start by browning some butter because I wanna give that some time to cool. And then I'll move on with the rest of the stuff. Stirring the brown butter in the ice bath, but I'm taking it off every once in a while because it is, you know, it starts to kind of solidify around the sides. And you can already see it's pretty much almost back to solid butter form. So I think one of the things that I kind of noticed yesterday with the frosting was that it was a little sweet for me. So I have just like the bag of powdered sugar here, and I'll kind of add a little bit here and there. Give it a wee taste. It's nice. I definitely am gonna add a pinch of salt and maybe a little bit more sugar just for the structure of it all, but I'm really happy with where it's at. This is done. I think I'm gonna make a couple more variations of frosting. Cue the montage. I'm going to start by just beating together my butter and cream cheese, and then I'm gonna portion out half for the citrus frosting and half for the sour cream. The final buttercream that I'm gonna try is a white chocolate cream cheese. I'm gonna use the white chocolate also as the like sugar element. This is a lot. we were doing some math. We carried the 2 a little bit. There's gonna be 24 different variations. In addition to that, I kind of just want to taste the cakes on their own. So 30, I guess. I'm gonna start with the original. Like I said, I know what this tastes like, but kind of gotta, jog the memory a little bit. A very like platonic ideal carrot cake. Okay, so this one is less sugar. So it's the same exact recipe as the original, but less sugar. That's really nice. I mean, it's really interesting to see between these two. This is the original recipe, and this one's less sugar. The color is like pretty different, honestly. I'll try the pineapple next because I think that was one of the big like notes that I saw a lot of people say. The pineapple is nice. It's not like overly pineapple-y. It's very moist. A lot of people were saying it's like makes it a lot more moist and a lot more tender. I don't notice a huge difference. This is gonna be the brown sugar version. It's nice because I'm getting a little bit of like a deeper, more molassesy flavor. Okay, so this one is the one with coconut oil. When I was mixing the batter, I could really smell the coconut oil. I can kind of smell it here. It's interesting. That one's coming across like a lot sweeter to me than the original one. But it's good. The texture is really lovely. Now I'm gonna try the no mix-ins. I miss the raisins. I don't miss the coconut. There, I said it. I like the bite that the raisins give. I like the little bit of like texture. So I've done my cake tasting. Now I'm going to taste different versions of the cake paired with different versions of the frosting that I made. Okay, brown butter, intrigued. I think I'm gonna try brown butter with brown sugar. After tasting the cake, I'm leaning brown sugar, I'm leaning less sugar. That's good. I wasn't getting as much of the carrot cakiness. I was getting a lot of brown butter, which isn't a bad thing. Maybe I'll try the brown butter with pineapple just to see, because pineapple had like a pretty distinct flavor as well. Oh man. I like the brown butter and the pineapple. That's really interesting. Did we write down that we like the brown butter and the pineapple? Yeah. Okay. Now I'm gonna do citrus. I think the citrus buttercream is something that I was quite excited for. Maybe I'll do the lime zest with the coconut oil. The lime is really nice in there. This is the lime with the pineapple. I'm on a beach. I'm on a beach. I really like the lime zest. I think existentially, is that making this something that it's not? I don't know. White chocolate. I'm gonna try the white chocolate with the less sugar version. The white chocolate's definitely the note that I'm getting, and I'm not getting as much of the cream cheesy note that I would like. Next, I'm gonna try this sour cream frosting. Tastes really good. It smells lovely, but I think that I would want it to have a little bit more structure. Maybe I'll try this one with the original, see how it goes. When paired with the cake itself, I don't know if I like it as much, but maybe I'll try it with the less sugar one. Less sweetness in the cake helps reinforce the kind of sour notes that are in the frosting itself, which I like. And I think that's kind of essential. Final thoughts after the tasting. I like the brown sugar. I like the pineapple. I'm interested in the pineapple. And I like the less sugar. I think that these three are my favorite of the cakes. In terms of frostings, I tried the sour cream with the original version and the less sugar version. I definitely think it stood up better to a less sweet cake, which I liked. But I'm interested to see what everybody else thinks. Han, what do you think? What's your fave?
Oh my gosh, I love the brown sugar one.
Brown sugar?
And sour cream, surprisingly.
Sour cream?
I really liked brown butter frosting, and I really liked brown sugar cake. But I'm also a big no mix-ins girly.
Oh.
I know.
You know what I say to that? We can't be friends.
Yeah, we agree that the sour cream with the brown sugar is top notch.
Sour cream, brown
Maybe a
sugar.
little citrus in there too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that the general consensus is that brown sugar, sour cream. I'm still on the fence between pineapple, no pineapple. So maybe we do 2 tests of those to see, but loving this taste test. I've learned a lot. I learned, what types of things I look for in a carrot cake. I like spice in my carrot cake. I like for it to be pretty dense but not stodgy. I like a cream cheese frosting that's, fairly standard. I don't want it to be too sweet. I love a raisin. I'm still on the fence about pineapple. So I wrote down what I think a good starter recipe would be for me. And then I have a number 2 version where I'm adding a half cup of pineapple. I'm gonna add raisins that have been rum soaked, ground ginger and freshly grated ginger. In terms of frosting, seemed like we like the sour cream frosting pretty much across the board here. And I might add some lemon zest to it. I guess I've got a great carrots now. We did a lot. This first one that I did is a brown sugar version, and I went down half a cup on the sugar. I also added some rum-soaked raisins, and to give it a little bit more zip, I did ground ginger and freshly grated ginger in there. I also omitted the coconut from this completely. I didn't think it needed it. And then for this one, is the exact same, but I added some crushed pineapple. And then the frosting, I ended up doing the sour cream variation. Rather than lime zest, I did lemon zest. These baked at about the same exact time. These are both 2-layer cakes rather than 3-layer cakes. I did put sour cream in this frosting, and as you can see, the density and the weight of this cake, it definitely weighed it down because it was a really delicate, light frosting. I would make this frosting again for another application. It was so delicious, maybe like a Victoria sponge of some sort, but this cake is too dense for that, so I think that when I actually develop the recipe, which you can see below, I will just do cream cheese and butter rather than adding the sour cream in there. So we've got 2 versions of rum raisin carrot cake, one with pineapple, one without. I'm gonna try the one without first. Wow, it's really good. It's a little closed textured, meaning like it's not as tender as I would maybe want it to be. But now I'm gonna try the pineapple one, which I'm pretty excited about. I mean, by George, I think we found it. It's really nice. I would even maybe consider going up, like I did 2 teaspoons of freshly grated ginger. I would maybe go up to a full tablespoon because I really like the ginger in there, but the pineapple is so good. I think that the booziness of the rum raisins comes out a little bit more in this one for some reason. The last 2 days were truly so fun. I really love just taking something really foundational. This carrot cake has kind of stood the test of time. To take something like that and then to be able to mold it and adapt it based on your comments, based on things that I was kind of feeling, to be able to try different things. I think that's the beauty of a recipe. A recipe is a living, breathing thing. It is not meant to be so set in stone. And I think that this is something that this is an experiment that really speaks to that. But yeah, you can find Dory's recipe, my recipe, and many other wonderful carrot cake recipes, rib recipes, burger recipes even, on NYT Cooking. Oh, I didn't see you there. So I spent the last couple weeks developing the carrot cake at home. I got into such a good spot here at the studio, but I really like to take my recipes home with me so that I can make sure that they A, work in a home kitchen, and B, just really try to get the best possible version of them. So I didn't end up changing much with the cake batter itself. I upped the spices so that you could really taste them, and I upped the rum raisin factor in it. I also did a mixture of brown and white sugar rather than just brown sugar because the brown sugar left it a little stodgy. The frosting is that girl. I made about 4 different versions of the frosting, and honestly, every one was delicious. It was just a little too loose for me. I needed it to be a little bit more structural for the heft of the layers of the carrot cake. So I took to the Reddit threads, you know, I did some research on it, and I found this wonderful YouTuber, shout out to Sugarology, and she kind of came up with this really great solution of almost emulsifying the cream cheese into the butter and sugar mixture. I think that it works really, really well. I took it into the office, folks loved it, and I'm just really overall happy with how it turned out. I love carrot cake. I think Dory's recipe is perfect. I think that this recipe that I've created is such a fun riff on her recipe. I hope you all make it. It's delicious. You can leave out the booze if you want, but hey, why would you? It's Friday. And this video lives on the internet, so it could be any day.